He was found at the bottom of the stairs at 7:15 in the morning. His wife had heard a sound she couldn't name. Not a fall, more like a sudden quiet, where there should have been movement. He was 71, no cardiac history. His doctor had called him remarkably healthy for his age, 3 months before he died. When the paramedics arrived, his heart had already stopped. By the time he reached my table, the damage to his myocardium was severe and irreversible. In the days that followed, I sat with his wife for a long time. She kept asking what had gone wrong. And as we talked through his last morning, what he ate, what he took, what he did in the first hour after waking, I recognized something, a pattern I have seen more times than I want to count. Nothing dramatic, nothing reckless. 5 completely ordinary things. What I'm about to tell you involves the part of your day you have never once considered dangerous. Let me ask you something first. When your alarm goes off tomorrow morning, what is the first thing you do? Most people don't have to think about it. The answer is automatic, practiced 10,000 times, and that automaticity is exactly the problem. Because there is a window, 60 minutes, starting the moment you open your eyes, that cardiologists have been studying for decades. Not the afternoon, not the post-exercise window, not the late evening. The first hour of the morning is the most cardiovascularly dangerous period of the entire 2-4-hour cycle. I want you to understand why. Not just the fact, the mechanism, because once you see it, you cannot unsee it. While you sleep, your body runs on minimal resources, heart rate low, blood pressure suppressed, blood moving slowly through your system. That is not a flaw. That is your body conserving energy across 8 hours of stillness. Then your alarm goes off. In the space of minutes, not hours, minutes, your body executes a shift that rivals anything it does during hard exercise. Cortisol surges, adrenaline rises. Blood pressure jumps 20 to 30 points within the first 30 minutes. And your blood, which has been thickening quietly overnight as you breathe out moisture and go without fluids, is now at its highest viscosity, its highest clotting potential of the entire day. In a young cardiovascular system, this transition is absorbed smoothly. The arteries are flexible. The pressure regulation is fast. The body adapts before anything goes wrong. After 60, that same transition becomes something else entirely. Stiff arteries cannot absorb the pressure surge the way flexible ones can. The mechanisms that regulate blood flow to the brain respond more slowly. And the blood running through already narrowed vessels is not just under pressure. It is thicker, more adhesive, more prone to the kind of clotting that lives in ordinary kitchens on ordinary mornings. This is why cardiac events cluster so heavily between 6 and 10 a.m. Every cardiologist knows this. Most patients never hear it. What you do in that window either works with your cardiovascular system or against it. Here is what most people are unknowingly doing against it. Think about the last time you woke up and felt briefly dizzy standing up. Most people have a ready explanation for that. Getting older. Took a moment to adjust. Nothing to worry about. I want to show you exactly what that moment is, what is actually happening inside your body in those few seconds, because it is not nothing, and it is happening to you every single morning. When you move from lying to standing, gravity immediately pulls roughly 300 to 500 milliliters of blood, close to a pint, downward into your legs and abdomen. Your heart and brain are suddenly working with a reduced supply. In a young body, the system corrects this in 1 or 2 seconds. The vessels compensate. The brain never notices. After 60, the correction takes longer. Baroreceptors, the pressure sensors your body uses to regulate this shift, slow with age. Arteries stiffen. If blood pressure is running low from medication, or if you're mildly dehydrated from overnight fluid loss, that correction window stretches further. And during those extra seconds, 3, 4, 5, sometimes longer, your brain is receiving less blood than it needs. The dizziness you feel is not aging. It is a measurable, repeated cardiovascular event called orthostatic hypotension. And when it happens every morning, in arteries already under the strain of age and morning pressure surge, the cumulative effect on cerebral blood flow is not benign. The fix takes 30 seconds and requires nothing except intention. When you wake up, sit on the edge of the bed before standing, legs hanging, 5 slow breaths. Let your baroreceptors catch up before gravity gets its full leverage on your system. 30 seconds. That is all. One of the most protective habits a person over 60 can build, and almost no one does it. Does that dizziness sound familiar? I want you to write that in the comments. More people experience this than ever mention it to their doctor. Now I need to tell you about something that is going to sound completely harmless. I am going to describe a morning habit that hundreds of millions of people share, and most of them, including many physicians, do not know what it is actually doing. You take your blood pressure pill, then you have your coffee. You have done this every morning for years. Here is the problem. Caffeine is a vasoconstrictor. It narrows blood vessels. A standard morning cup raises systolic blood pressure 5 to 10 points within 30 minutes of consumption. In a person over 60, with arterial stiffness and existing hypertension, that spike does not arrive in a neutral environment. It arrives during the most cardiovascularly volatile hour of the day, on a system already under pressure surge, with blood already at its thickest. But the medication timing is the part that very few patients understand. Most blood pressure medications taken in the morning have a peak absorption window, the period of maximum protective effect that occurs 1 to 2 hours after ingestion. If you take your medication simultaneously with coffee, the caffeine-induced vasoconstriction is working in direct opposition to your medication during exactly the window your medication is trying to establish its protection. Every morning, you are undermining your own treatment, without knowing it, without any dramatic symptom to tell you it is happening. The adjustment is not complicated. Take your medication first, with a full glass of water. Wait 30 minutes before coffee. That single gap allows the medication to begin establishing its effect before caffeine introduces its opposing signal. Even 20 minutes makes a measurable difference in morning pressure profiles. One change, against the most dangerous window of your cardiovascular day. I want to tell you about a patient I'll call Walter. He was 73, former teacher, walked 2 miles every evening. 8 years, managing hypertension medications taken faithfully, blood pressure considered well controlled by every metric his physician tracked. He was, by any reasonable standard, doing the right things. He had a mini-stroke on a Tuesday morning at 8:45 a.m. When I reviewed his 2 4-hour blood pressure monitor data afterward, something stood out immediately. His morning pressure readings in that first hour were consistently the highest of his entire day. Not afternoon, not after his evening walk. Every morning, in that first window, readings that his nighttime numbers never came close to. His morning routine was coffee, blood pressure pill, and a piece of toast. The toast was part of the problem, not because bread is dangerous, because of what refined carbohydrates do inside a pressurized cardiovascular system. During the precise window, it is least equipped to absorb additional strain. When you eat refined carbohydrates, white bread, sweetened cereals, pastries, anything that converts rapidly to glucose, blood sugar spikes within 30 to 45 minutes. That spike triggers an insulin surge, and that insulin surge causes blood vessels to constrict. Pressure rises. For someone whose blood pressure is already at its morning peak, that meal-induced constriction is another layer of load on a system that is already working at its daily maximum. Walter added 2 eggs to his breakfast, moved the toast to a secondary role instead of the primary one. Protein slows glucose absorption. It prevents the sharp insulin spike. It does not require giving up the food, only reordering it. His morning pressure profiles over the following 3 months were measurably different. His cardiologist noticed before Walter even mentioned the change. I know what the next one is going to sound like. I know some of you are already forming the objection, and I want to address it directly, because the dismissal is understandable, but the physiology does not care whether the habit sounds medical or not. The moment you open your phone in the first minutes of waking, you are making a decision about your nervous system that your cardiovascular system pays for immediately. Your morning cortisol surge, the hormonal mechanism that wakes you, peaks within the first 30 to 45 minutes after waking. This is a necessary process. But it is also a window of heightened cardiovascular reactivity. Heart rate climbing, blood pressure rising. Your system already primed. When you introduce a phone screen into this window, news, emails, messages, anything, you are feeding that cortisol surge with external threat signals. The stress response that was already elevating your blood pressure receives confirmation. There are things to react to, and that confirmation is not neutral. It is processed by the same physiological systems that would respond to a physical threat. Cortisol rises further, adrenaline spikes harder, blood pressure climbs beyond its natural morning peak. And in a cardiovascular system, already managing arterial stiffness, slower pressure regulation, and thicker morning blood, that additional surge lands on a system with very little reserve left. Research published in the Journal of the American Heart Association found that chronic psychosocial stress independently elevates morning cortisol and is associated with increased cardiovascular event risk. The mechanism runs directly through that hormonal window, and the phone, calibrated by design to generate exactly this response, is one of the most reliable cortisol amplifiers in modern life. 20 minutes. That is all. Keep the phone on the other side of the room and give yourself the first 20 minutes before the world gets access to your nervous system. Let the cortisol surge peak and begin settling before you hand it something to react to. 20 minutes. A physiologically meaningful act of cardiovascular protection that looks, from the outside, like nothing at all. The last one is the one I watch people dismiss fastest, and because of that, I want to approach it differently. I am not going to tell you to drink more water. I am going to show you what is happening inside your cardiovascular system right now, tonight. While you sleep, that makes the first thing you put in your body every morning matter more than any other single variable on this list. You are lying still, not drinking, breathing continuously, and every exhale expels moisture, possibly sweating, your kidneys filtering your blood through the night without pause. By the time your alarm sounds, you are in a state of mild to moderate dehydration. Not dramatic dehydration, not dangerous in isolation, but enough to meaningfully change the physical properties of your blood. Dehydrated blood is thicker blood. Blood viscosity, its resistance to flow, increases, with even mild fluid loss. Thicker blood moves more slowly through vessels. It adheres more readily to arterial walls. It is measurably more prone to forming the kind of clots that cause heart attacks and strokes. Now hold that picture and layer everything else on top of it. Blood pressure surging 20 to 30 points. Cortisol elevated. Heart rate climbing. Morning platelet activity at its daily peak. And running through all of it blood that is thicker and more prone to clotting than at any other point in the 24-hour cycle. Moving through arteries under their greatest daily stress. In a body with its lowest fluid reserve. This is the exact biological environment in which most cardiac events occur, not because of any single factor. Because of all of these factors converging in the same 60-minute window every single morning, in the body of every person over 60 who wakes up and reaches for their phone before they reach for water. A full glass, 250 to 300 milliliters, before anything else, before coffee, before medication, before breakfast. That single glass begins reducing blood viscosity within minutes. It supports your kidneys in clearing overnight waste. It gives your cardiovascular system a small but genuine mechanical advantage in the most dangerous hour of its day. Put the glass on your nightstand tonight. I want to come back to the man at the bottom of the stairs. His wife and I talked for a long time. She is a practical woman. She did not want reassurance. She wanted to understand. And as we went through his last morning, the quick rise from bed, the coffee with his pill, the toast, the phone checked immediately. No water until the coffee was already made. She recognized each one. I know, she said quietly. I do the same things. That is why I make videos like this one. Not for the patients on my table. I cannot reach them there. For the people who are still in that first hour of the morning right now, tomorrow morning, the morning after that, with every option still available to them. You are one of those people. What I have described is not 5 separate interventions. It is one framework, 130-minute window, already part of your morning, managed differently than you are managing it right now. When your alarm goes off, sit up slowly. Reach for the water on your nightstand. Drink it before anything else. Sit on the edge of the bed for 30 seconds. Leave the phone where it is. Take your blood pressure medication with a second glass of water. Wait 30 minutes before coffee. Make breakfast protein first. 30 minutes, already yours, spent differently. I have watched patients return 3 months later with morning pressure profiles that read like different people. Not because anything dramatic changed, because the most dangerous window of their cardiovascular day was finally being managed instead of ignored. Which of these 5 do you recognize in your own morning? Write it in the comments. I read every single one, and if more than 2 of these sound like your routine, you are not alone. Most of my patients recognize 3 or 4 before I finish the list. If this gave you something real, share it, not for this channel. For the person in your life who is over 60 and has started every morning the same way for 30 years, with no idea what that first hour is doing, that share is not a small thing. For the right person, it may be the most important one you make today. Subscribe if you want to keep going deeper. Next week, I'm going to talk about something that surprises almost every patient. I mention it to 5 common supplements most people over 60 take every day, believing they're protecting their heart, when the evidence tells a very different story. Everything shared here is based on current cardiovascular research and my clinical experience as a cardiothoracic surgeon. General information, not personal medical advice for your specific situation. Before making any changes to your medication, timing, diet, or treatment plan, please speak with your own physician. They know your complete picture. Take care of your heart. It has been waking up with you every single morning of your life. Give it a better first hour.